Your show's rubbish.
Yeah, let's start.
Let's start.
Oh, do you want to do the start? Hello.
No, not really.
Okay. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Trout Spinners podcast with your friends Miles Pennell and Gary Forrestal. It's nice to be back. It's been a couple of weeks since we've done a show, since we met formally in Brighton. How are you?
Oh, yeah. Not too bad. Thanks. Not too bad. You?
Yeah, I'm all right.
Yeah, great. We're two British people.
I went to the shop earlier today to pick up my beverages to lubricate my vocal cords, and so I bought a couple of ciders. And I also didn't have any toilet paper, so just a couple of ciders and some toilet paper, and just got really anxious that everyone was like looking at me thinking, oh, what a wild night that is.
Using this word during masturbation. I like to drink cider and then masturbate.
On the
just
loo.
In case you're
So it's been fun.
Yeah, well, I don't know that shop. Okay, so I'm not judging them, but the shop that I go to where I buy my wine, I buy the good wine there. It's not too expensive, but wine. Like I wouldn't buy most other things from there, like toilet paper. It's like tracing paper.
The thinnest
back in school. So it's just and sharp as well. So those shops don't have like the Charmin and the. You don't have to be, but toilet paper is one thing where it's a false economy. You know, if you get cheap toilet paper, it really is not worth it. If you get cheap mayonnaise or whatever, that could be all right. You know, it could be decent mayonnaise. I quite like that mayonnaise. But if it's toilet paper, no, I wouldn't do that at those sort of shops. But is this like a Tesco Express or is it like a branded?
It's a big store Morrison's on this occasion.
Oh, well, that's all right then.
Yeah,
toilet paper, stock up.
Yeah.
So anything else you bought that you want to talk about that you wipe your ass with?
I've been watching The Repair Shop a lot this week. It's on Channel 1. It's really good. You should watch it. But it just fills
Channel
your
1.
world. BBC
No one
One.
Says Channel 1.
Channel
okay,
1.
BBC One, right.
So it's these group of people, and they're like crafts people, like people working like metalworks, sewing, toy fixers or manufacturers, and people bring in their loved items that are sort of broken in some way. And these group of professionals, experts, will repair the item. And a lot of the time, the items have got like sentimental value, kind of related to the family. And family's going to bring up in this episode as well, like Karl's the hassle of having friends and family.
Yes. They fix it. That sounds like a big load of old bollocks to me.
Like
that show.
No,
I've seen there's so many shows that are related to antiques. Sort of.
This isn't an antique show.
Roadshow, but it's like that, isn't it? Because they're bringing in stuff that has it's like an antique.
Yeah, but what the payoff of this show and why you watch it is to watch.
Is it Debbie McGee?
It's not Debbie McGee, no.
Is that the payoff?
These people will fix the object and they'll put all of their love and attention to detail. That when they return it to the families or the person, they are so delighted to have this relic of the past back in their house. And some of them cry, and they're just really emotional. Everyone's just so nice to each other, and it just makes me feel better about the world every time I watch it.
The Victoria Plum.
That's what we should do.
Off, and it's like, we should.
The thing is, like, we couldn't keep a straight face. So I brought this XFM mouse mat, and
imagine repairing a mouse mat and a piece of foam.
Well, this particular item is actually very hard to repair because of the texture and the quality of the chamois. That's coming off with tap water.
Yeah, it's not worth.
Do you know what
that would take me to?
They did actually kind of use that quote on the show. They used this like this sort of dishcloth type thing, and they put a chemical on it. Goes. And just a little bit of water, and that dries straight away. So it just sort of
wet chamois leather.
And wet chamois. But I always feel cheated when they don't cry. I like watching people expel emotion, and it just makes me feel better because I can't. When was the last time you cried properly?
Probably I was 3 or 4, and I didn't get the biscuits that I wanted. Nearly choked on a Mr. Freeze Pop or whatever it was.
Oh, it didn't get your animal crackers.
Crying. No, but I was going to say we should use this. The reason we might actually be getting a mouse mat, we should talk about that.
Yeah, go for it.
And why are we going to need a mouse mat, Miles? I'm inviting you to. We're going to promote at the beginning. We wanted to promote this. We're going to do something special,
and we're going to promote it.
No one is interested in.
We are going to
No one
promote it
cares.
every single week until we get upwards of 10 people attending. There's 3 so
Only
far.
3
So
weeks.
the D-Trout Spinners are going to be doing a live podcast in London. This is going to be taking place on the 12th of December. Get it in your diaries. 1:30 to 3 p.m. That's 90 minutes. That's an hour and a half.
But get there for 1 if you can.
Yeah, and
Jake's.
starts at drinks at 1. So
Drinks at 1.
So, and it's going to be at the Cock Tavern. So not a joke.
That's not a joke, by the way.
And
that
that's
really is
in Hackney. Nearest tube station is.
Oh, there's not even. There isn't one. No, because I looked into this. I basically worked out how much the taxi would be from the tube. But it's not. Yeah, I think you have to go to the overground. I think it's called Hackney Central. I think. Or look, I'll confirm that. But you need to go. You can go to like London Bridge and then change.
This is boring. They don't need to know this.
So you get to London Bridge, you get the Jubilee line north, 5 stops.
This isn't the knowledge. You don't need to be an expert at this.
What the show's like. If you want to come, that would be the sort.
You only know the directions to your shop and back home again, so that's it.
No, I know directions to Sainsbury's as well. If I want.
Okay, that's all right. Anyway, there's going to be a link in the show notes to the Facebook event, or do go on to our Twitter. So RSVP, however you like, whether it's email or something. We just want a good idea of numbers.
Yeah, you can come round to mine.
Well,
let me know. You can. I'll give you the. So I've given my address out on air before, and Miles told me a while into it. He said he always cuts those bits out. So, which is probably wise in the end, because given what happened. So yeah, that's going to be 12th of December, as you say. It'll be like this, but the subject will be kind of Christmas shows in general, because it's quite close.
Christmas
to Christmas
theme there. Christmas theme there.
Christmas theme there, garlic bread and all that. We'll have prizes. We'll do little competitions, little things, and then we'll be basically forced out of that area of the pub, because the afternoon crowd comes in and they need the pub for that time. But
exactly.
We've got about an hour and a half or so. So yeah, tickets are free. There is no ticket. So it's absolutely free. But I was thinking if we did the tickets at -£5, so we give them a £5. As they come through the door.
Well, there's a great selection of hop house and craft beers and ales for your drinking pleasure. You can get some KP nuts or some nobbies these days, isn't it?
I don't know.
I don't eat
nuts.
Do you think the humble pub snack is going to change, like in 10 or 20 years?
Why would
Do you think it's?
Well, what has changed, which I've noticed, is that definitely crisps, which have always been there, but they were always walkers, which is all right. You just get walkers. Now most pubs have a very, very fancy crisp, which are nice.
I thought they were always golden wonders when I went to the pub when I was a kid.
Yeah, that's right. So golden ones or walkers, but there was never any, you get these posh crisps and people say, oh, they're not kind of worth it, but like I actually like them. They're
pay through the nose, mate.
Well, yeah, it's about £1.30 for a bag, for a tiny little bag that we share between us, sadly, on the table as we're recording this.
Do you know, I do quite like that as a British tradition of the opening of the bag of crisp. I think that's something we only do in this country.
Do you know what I hate? Right, I don't mind people it's not because I don't like sharing. First of all, I don't like when people rip. You do this. You rip the bag open and kind of put it for people to share. I'd rather have it for people to share, but just have it. I like only having the opening at the end where it's supposed to be. I don't like ripping it in half. Don't know. It just feels like it's something that.
Yeah, but I like it because it's like set dressing your table, your pub table. It's like I've got a couple of drinks here, and I haven't got a candle, but I've got a crisp bowl.
Couple of losers, couple of drinks, and a couple of. But no, the worst thing is people who go like, I'll do it to you, and then you describe what I'm doing. Okay. You go like this with a packet of crisps.
The whole neck back.
Yeah, I just basically, as if like it's a pint, you just neck it back. Never.
I like that bit.
But I do the pub tradition, even sort of chain pubs that aren't that independent seem to have quirky kind of crisps.
Yeah.
And the crisp manufacturers. I mean, that's one thing. Like if I was, inventing something to make money, it wouldn't be a new brand of crisp because there's so many.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that.
You don't see each pub has a different one. So
yeah, but I think what's going to be like chili bites or wasabi peas or that sort of thing. Do you remember that pub we went to and they did penny sweets?
Oh yeah,
Barley Mo.
Barley Mo, isn't it? Yeah, I've seen other pubs do that. They don't just do penny sweets. They do penny sweets. They did a whole array of sort of sweets right on the back as well.
It's like a tuck shop.
The Cock Tavern, I know for a fact, does pickled egg on the bar. They've got a big jar of pickled eggs. It says on their website. I've checked. I think
so. If you're not going to like the entertainment, Pickled eggs. All right.
I can't think. The Cock Tavern's brilliant, but I just have never personally been. I can't conceive of eating a pickled egg. It's a great thing.
I could do a pickled onion. I think.
No, I don't. Why pick? Why don't you just have an egg? Why don't you just have egg? I know because actually it keeps it fresh to pickle it because mold can't grow in vinegar. So
yeah, but
I know
it also
that,
tastes nice. Pickling's very on trend, man. It's very on trend.
Don't.
The gherkin community is kicking off.
Don't do that. Don't do the on trend thing with me on air. You know how I feel.
All right. Something else that is also trending is the XFM shows, or at least it was last week when we spoke about it. But this week, we discussed Series 3, Episode 5, 22nd of November, 2003. Buttplugs, Karl goes on a blind date and is annoyed that he spent money on someone who was just going to die on him. I'll put a link into the show notes and you can listen and come back for our little debrief, which is now.
Oh, God.
Hello.
Hang on, sorry. I wanted a bigger break. I just need to compose myself.
You have to wait a bit. Let's do the first.
They wait for me then. They can wait for me. Okay. No, go on. Okay, so
you can wait. You'll get a break, but first we'll do our little thoughts and opinions on this episode. We'll be doing favourite quotes. We've got XFM in the community where a lot of you got in touch. Well, 3 of you, and we've got some feedback on
the week before.
Yeah, on the XFM Blackout and Ricky's acknowledgement of the shows. And I should also say at this point, Wern and Blog, who is an excellent podcast who review The Office, they've just wrapped an interview with Stephen Merchant. So very excited to listen to that. So do check that out when that becomes available. And we'll, of course, put a link in because they did ask us for a few questions, and so hopefully we'll find a little bit more about the XFM shows via Steve.
Did they ask any of the questions we sent them?
I think they had a lot of questions, but 1 or 2 got to him.
Yeah, there's no way they're going to ask a few of our questions.
No, we've got to save them for when we get him on, mate.
Yeah, so my only question to you when you said this was, please, can you come on? That's the only question I had for him. Please come on to our show. Yeah, but Steve might do it. He's doing publicity for his I'd say, renowned. It's quite been well reviewed. His piece of work that he's just come out with. I've watched the first one. It's good.
And we'll keep it that way.
Maybe later. We'll keep it that way. That's it. But
what are your thoughts?
Well, we spoke earlier. We didn't speak, but you said this is not one of your favourites, and I agree. It's not one of my favourites, but it's not bad. It's got some very good moments in it, like Karl's Day. It kind of it's got quite a week's beginning and a weekend. But it's got some strong points around the middle. I'm not too bothered about Peter the Great stuff. Science, the evolution. It's kind of like one of the more dull evolution sort of chats. Do you know what I mean? They sometimes chat about that kind of subject, science, and they get more comedy out of it.
I think my problem with this show is it doesn't hold together very well. Like, it seems to be Karl just trying to impress them with knowledge and facts, and they're kind of loosely strung together. It's like a series of set pieces that none of them quite work or land completely for me. And he's trying so hard to impress them.
Yeah, he is, but they give him some facts as well. It's not just all Karl giving facts. So you could base a show around that.
But he's having to justify himself all the time in this episode, isn't he?
He feels like he does, I guess, yeah. The music rating thing, I'm glad they didn't do that every week, but I do like it. I like it's entertaining. I particularly like Kellerton Road. I always thought that should be our theme music. So I quite like that feature, but I'm glad it wasn't a feature for every show, and it's not a funny kind of feature, apart from
deliberately so.
It's quite funny, but it's just supposed to be a serious feature. Yeah, maybe it's a bit out of place. And then they're talking about the Office scripts being stolen. The only point of interest for me for that is I remember that story in the newspapers that they've been stolen. It was in the newspapers. I remember reading it in the Sun, which we used to read in our house. That was our paper choice.
I've actually got that same article in front of me. It says, secrecy surrounding the final episodes of The Office have been broken after the scripts were accidentally posted to the wrong address. Joanne Hiley from Saffron Walden says she was sent 200-page scripts intended for someone else. Now, Hiley says she is considering selling them to the highest bidder. If I decide to go down that road, you can expect to see the revelations in the paper which can bid the most, she told London's Evening Standard. A BBC spokesperson said to reveal the plans for the Office 2-part special would be like opening your Christmas presents too early, which is true. Really weird thing to want to hurt someone's life. But like Ricky says, That would have been a great Christmas for her.
Yeah, but as Ricky says as well, like who would want to buy them? I mean, they're not worth that much because they.
Can you imagine how much they're worth now, though?
If they were original scripts, I don't think they'd be worth. I think no, but if they were with a certificate of authenticity, I don't think they'd be worth over like 150 quid or something like that. I mean, they're at the time, the worth wasn't that they were like, oh, to have the scripts, it was to know what was in them, to publish it early. But no one did that. As far as I remember, whether she sold them or not, no one, I didn't read the story anyway in the Sun or the Mail.
It does make you feel nice though about like spoilers. Nowadays, spoilers are everywhere. Like you go on Twitter for like 2 seconds before, you know, what the moment Bake Off's finished. I know who's got kicked out straight away. It's like, for fuck's sake. And it's like a big thing. Like that was, back then the only way you could leak something was through the papers and usually, and words, it was harder to get things out. It amuses me a little bit of trivia here for you, Gary, if you're interested. When they're talking about their concern.
Can we not do that?
Karl confidently declares, all I can say is it's a good job that I send out the prizes because that Michael Palin will be going to the person who won it. Now
That's
that was
one of my favourite quotes, actually.
So that was Joe Ogden. And he'll email again in 6 weeks later to complain that she never received her prize.
Oh, yeah. That's true.
So the same thing happened.
Yeah, that's it. I never put those two things together.
Do you remember? Do you remember that email, Rick? Because I've got all the details. I've got all the details. I keep them in my little office.
It's funny because there's a couple of people now at least who claim these days to. They might be joking, but that they didn't receive prizes. So I don't know if Karl actually ever sent them out. He must have legally had to send some out. He might have so pissed to get up to Scotland, the last ever prize they do, where it's someone in Edinburgh. Although I've often thought about that. What difference would it make posting something to Scotland? It's not harder.
Yeah, but it's longer.
Even if you have to post why is it longer?
Because it's Scotland.
Because if you post something just across London, it's still going to take the same.
It won't cost as much. No, it won't.
Oh, the cost, yeah.
The cost of postage and postage and packages included.
That's the first thing you've ever taught me. That's like when Ricky teaches Steve that they're doing the roadworks because it's near the end of the year. Usually I'm the one who teaches you.
I thought it was very common knowledge, to be honest. I'm surprised you are that idiot. That's stupid.
It's so the main two bits for me, the headlines are fine, you know, they don't riff too much on them. The other weeks when they do the headlines, they're funnier. Part of the Leach story is very interesting, and the date story I like. Around that, before and after that, is it's weaker than other shows.
I have to say, let's talk about the blind date story then. So Karl's been set up to go on a blind date, and there's obviously some really funny quotes in that. One of my favourite quotes is just, I'll probably repeat it again anyway, but it's like, go and see some middle-aged men run around in pants. Just think that's so, it's the word pants. It makes me so sad listening to that story now. Because like Karl was just so dismissive of him. No, I mean, that's sad anyway, but I mean, it's the fact that Karl was so dismissive of her anyway. There's this story later for a bit of pop-up trivia. According to Ricky during his politics show, after Karl told his anecdote about the blind date who had a wasting disease, which just makes it all the worse, doesn't it? Ricky took him aside off air and said he had to be careful because she may have been listening and been upset by his comments. Karl's response was that she was probably be dead by now. No,
I don't. What Ricky said that on his politics show on stage.
That's from the Pilkopedia politics show. I always think
I was being facetious there. He knows she probably, I don't know. Funny. I love this. It's a great story. But imagine going to Bottom. It's just so perfect. Like as a place you wouldn't go on a date. Like it is middle-aged men running around in pants. My mum and dad went on a date to Bottom. They went to Bottom a couple of times. Yeah,
and they stayed together, and then subsequent split up.
Yeah, no, they're still together, mate. I can't deal with the fact I pretend they are.
I just then the next episode we'll get my girlfriend had a problem with her marrow, and that's just and that's like her legacy. I'm sure she was a wonderful woman, whoever she was, but
she might still be alive.
I hope she is. I hope she is. I don't know.
The favourite quote of it, my favourite quote is the day up. Is it the next show or is it that show when it's like, would you buy a car with a Duff engine? I know, but it's so bad, but it is good. It's one of those ones you can't help but like, it is. I'm gonna laugh at that. Sorry, that's just too funny not to laugh. Yeah, it's a funny story, but I think it's quite sweet. Like it's quite sweet to think, and he did buy buy her Skittles and stuff. It's just Carl's.
Well, it was that he got an opal fruit, switching out Starburst.
Fruit, sorry. But yeah, I think we'd all have been thinking that, but none of us would ever say it. Or
exactly.
Make it obvious.
Yeah. But this is what he says, isn't it? You know, in the chat before, the hassle of having friends and family, and he wants to be such a private person, which I completely respect, actually. And I think less and less people are like this now. Like, I like my privacy, but I do have a social persona and stuff, you know, and I think everyone's I mean that in like the most unpretentious kind of way. No, but we all have social media.
MP
well, it's because, but isn't that an example of it? Because I'd rather people call me MP than Mars Purnell, which is stupid because that's what I say on
I
this
just don't think anyone should brand themselves, you know, brand products.
Yeah, but this is the problem, isn't it? Like, Carl's never wanted the limelight. He's never wanted. In fact, he wants to do as much to hide from his family and friends. And I just wanted to ask you, Gary, what are your opinions on friends and family? I'm more talking about your family because I know you've got very complex. I don't want you to get too personal, but I'm just interested in how people feel about
I'm happy just I have Christmas with either one of them or none of them, and it's easier that way. Yeah, but sometimes it's none of them.
Have you ever been close to your family, or does it change? Or
some of them, grandparents,
yeah.
parents, on off, never brother. Cousins, I've got this one uncle I'm pretty close to. It's funny because he's the youngest of his generation. I'm the oldest of mine, so we're about 12 years apart. So we kind of got on, and he's a funny guy.
Yeah.
Him I like. It's a family thing. Beeline, sit next to Rob. But I know if I'm sitting next to anyone else, boring. Yeah. Except for my grandma, I wouldn't call her boring. But you know, it's for it's gonna be boring sitting next to some cousin or something. Or
I know.
I'm not saying my cousins are fine. You know, if they're listening to this, because I do tell them I do a podcast whenever I see them. So if they are listening, I'm sure I like you. Especially the younger ones, they're cool. But when I say young, they're like 21.
If they got any money, they could put it into the Patreon, support the cousin.
They will not be doing that. No, one of them earns a lot of money. She's a scientist already. She's only like 21. I mean, that's who we should.
Cool. You've really fallen off the wagon somewhere, haven't you?
Yeah. Well, so you're never on the wagon. You never on the wagon.
Got a couple of degrees, mate. All right.
So do I. Actually, at a high level.
Anyway, pathetic.
But no. So what about your family? Tell me about your family, because you have. I don't think you're kind of closest to your family, but one in particular, very, very particularly your mum, especially. I met.
Yeah, I've got a very. You've met her, and you got on really well with her. You got similar. Like she basically introduced me to comedy and stuff. You know, she's single parent, and you connect so much more when you've got a smaller family, when you're sort of dependent on fewer and fewer people, I find. And obviously
without going into details, wasn't she single for the whole of your life? I thought you went to the age of about 12 or so.
Yeah, my dad left
sorry.
It's not sad. No, he left me when I was 10. And
that was a good thing though, wasn't it?
Yeah, honestly, I always think people with breakups, I think people, I'm sure loads of listeners have have parents who have separated or divorced or whatever. Mine were never married, but I was incredibly comforted when they split up. I could actually see that they were both unhappy, so I was delighted when they split up. But yeah, no, I think we're coming up to Christmas, and Christmas was always like different in my house because my granddad, he was like the core of the family, and everyone would sort of gravitate towards him. But when we were growing up, we had to sort of take it in turns to go to the different grandparents. And when I went to like my nan's, my Purnell side of the family, it's a lot more people, and they are pretty much like the Mitchell family in EastEnders. They are the mafia of Ipswich, and I'm not even joking. Really? And it's just
they're the English ones.
Yeah, they're English. So they're 4 brothers and 1 sister, and they're all just trying to like outdo each other. They're all like big, fat, balding men, and it's such a testosterone like fueled environment, and they're all just telling like dirty, seedy jokes. And then like so many people. But it is like that, Garrett. I'm not joking. Like my nan's, got a curved back like a shrimp, cooking the turkey, can barely fucking walk. And she's so stressed out.
Slag her off.
I'm not slagging her off, but it was true. She had the curved back like a shrimp. But no, and there were like so many. The table was all dressed and everything, and she wanted like the perfect family like get together, but nothing. If everyone knows that at Christmas, it's never perfect.
No,
always like someone gets too drunk, and can you imagine like. Yeah, well, I have to get one.
But I've never heard you talk about that side. You always talk about the other side.
Yeah, there was so
which
many
seems
people,
much closer.
Some people were on stools, some people were sitting on like tables.
Oh yeah, but that's
I know it was very like royal family-ish, but I hated it. I absolutely hated it, and nowadays
Oh,
it's
I hate
much
Christmas.
nicer
Yeah,
because it's just
that's
like
what I say.
literally much smaller now. I've got a much more.
Yeah.
I've got very good relationships with the small family members that I do stay in contact with. So I do get Carl's kind of desire to want to break away from that and enjoy
Yeah.
his independence a bit.
I'm
But a lot
totally
of
like
people
that.
love. A lot of people love being surrounded by loads and loads of family. A lot of people like being
I
single
can't.
and alone and eating, a microwave meal for one.
I was
Like
just, I
other
was just
people.
watching.
I know.
I was just watching QI. Stephen Fry. He went to one of these religious states. Was it Utah? And he was like on the religious talk. He didn't tell them what if he wasn't. And she said at the end, and if you, and then at heaven, when you go to heaven, you'll see all your family again, all your family. And he said, what happens if you're good? And she basically kicked him out. She's like, you cannot stay here, sir. You must leave. It's because he was taking the piss. Right? He just said, what happens if you're good?
That's funny.
Can't, but he's like, my close family, yeah, of course I want to see them, but all these aunts.
But it's funny, isn't it? Because it's that thing of you can choose your friends, but you can't choose your family, and it's such a cliche, but it's true. It's funny that
Carl's talking about
you have
friends
to be
as well.
Yeah,
Carl's
but it's funny that you have to be close to your family. There's this kind of thing that you have.
I don't think you do these days. I don't think you do. It's kind of
I think it's because there's no such thing as the nuclear family anymore, is there?
Well, very few people stay in units. 2 parents, 2 children, say, always same house. They all split up, and then they're on their 4th wife or whatever, and then you got to go to their house.
Yeah. You've got to get wife number 1 first.
I've got through about 7 wives to think of. I can't remember which is which, but it's. I know what Carl's saying there. Yeah, I know what Carl means. Yeah. But Carl means it with friends and family and everyone. Like Carl wouldn't be on social media, for example. I know he probably has got an account that's just
got a Facebook. I think
tweeting in his name.
There is actually some naughty bugger on TikTok who is posing as Karl Pilkington, and they've got over thousands and thousands of followers just taking old clips and doing TikToks. I was like, why haven't we thought of that? What
old clips of him and pretending he's doing them now,
opinion pieces or to camera pieces, so they're just taking clips and adding captions and stuff as you do on TikTok.
Someone impersonated us as well, and they've got thousands and thousands of views per video. All they do is post the original shows, so they don't put anything into it.
I don't think they're pretending to be us then in that case.
No, but they must I don't know, but
I don't think anyone would ever do that.
Yeah. I guess I don't know what the recourse for that is for Karl to kind of go to the courts and say, can I get an injunction on this guy to stop pretending to be me? Karl probably doesn't care. And actually, one thing about Karl is he does. I've seen there are screenshots of this, but I think it's true. If you message him a question that's kind of like, Karl, what would you rather, duck hands or feathers instead of hands, or it's a stupid question like Gervais asked. He'll often reply. He'll
on Facebooks.
He won't make friends with you, but he'll reply to you. So it's kind of
that's nice, isn't it?
He does interact. Yeah, I think that's nice.
Still not nice enough to come on this show though.
No, but actually, why don't we contact him via Facebook, directly?
It's quite a good idea,
because we haven't done that yet. This is an off-air discussion. I know, but
it is. Let's do that. Hey, trying to get your attention.
This is friend.
Every week, I think listeners go away and think, "Well, I didn't know that." Karl, they forget it instantly. There's a little bit of hypocrisy with I think Steve and Ricky here, because they go when he says that, and Ricky says, "You've never taught me anything." Now that's quite a long way away from, you're the most interesting bloke ever from series 1 when he says stuff like that.
Yeah, but he still says to this day he's the most interesting bloke ever. I think it was last week or this week he said it as well. He holds those 2 thoughts at once. They're not diametrically opposed, but they seem they're sort of opposite opinions.
But Steve's very critical of Karl when he says, they had to use the metaphor of, the house bricks, you'll go the other way.
That's actually not an easy thing to understand, propulsion.
That's my
point. It's actually quite a complex thing. And it's not so obvious for a child. If you put the house bricks out, you'll go the other way. Actually, I can't, it's hard to, you kind of do, but I didn't know that, obviously.
The point
weird.
is,
but
he's
Ricky's like, oh, it's exactly, of course you should know this. This is the most basic fact.
It's not, though. It's not the most basic thing. Like, what's like the thing that you've learnt from... I was going to say, it's not the cough, the cavity off, it's the cough and the carry often. What's the thing from school that you've...
I don't know what that...
That's from series 1. What's the thing that you, like, remember from school, like a fact or something that, I don't know, something interesting?
Oh, well, like a fact. One thing I like is teacher. It was all right. He was old then, so it's like he was 60 right. Then. Is that kind of age. Like he said, he taught about, say, in Norway or up north. Do you know they have day for like months and night for months? Right. They have one day and 1 month. So he said the sun comes up in around about 1/2 March and goes down around 1/4 to October. And it was a lovely way of putting it to kind of explain to us that the sun came up there, like, and it was up the whole. It's just, that's
be better than that fact. To be honest, I feel tired.
Yeah, well, what do you want? It's a fact from school. Like, I thought that's quite. It's an interesting way to learn that fact. Yeah. You don't know that before. You don't know that before you go to school. That lights are later.
I remember one of the science teachers. He looked a bit like you. Actually, was sort of with a beard and all that.
We were talking about my old English teacher earlier, weren't we? And he looks like me as well. Yeah. I do have that teachery look. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you do. Well, it kind of goes with your studies. But he was talking about like renewable energy and climate change and everything. And I just remember learning about that at the time, being like, oh my God, that's actually quite worrying.
See that?
And then now it is like everything now. And then he was basically giving all reasons why wind technology won't be, normalized because it can't actually generate that much energy. And I just remember thinking, oh, is that all? Things have changed, mate.
Well, yeah, but that places you and I, because we would never have had that in our syllabus, because we obviously it was understood what it was, but you'd never teach it in school, like anything. You were burning
a fire in the lab, and
we did. Well, honestly, one day it was really cold. He said, "Right, you all put your Bunsen burners on in front of you," and we did that to heat up the classroom. We all had our Bunsen burners on.
Safe, isn't it?
We actually did light the fire. No, it was, of course, because Bunsen burners are safe enough.
Oh my God.
Yeah. That was like, because I don't know if they heated the classrooms properly, but.
Oh, they were good, weren't they, Bunsen
burners? But, you kind of remember little things like that. Yeah, nice. What else do I remember? And we're talking about Of Mice and Men. That was quite interesting.
I could still remember quite a lot of, Of Mice and Men I could remember a lot of. And, the Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner. He stoppeth one of three, by thy grey beard and twinkling eye. Now wherefore stops thou me? Remember a verse from that? Great.
Well, that's like the reason why I had to take. Would have been the breed. What was my destiny?
That did seem mental, actually. There was one exam where we were allowed to bring in a page of exam notes, and I was like, all right, then fuck it. I'm just going to write it out then.
That's stuff. Well, there was an exam we had that was a music one, and she was at the front playing bars, but she was known for, like, she wanted her exam results to be really high, so it looked like she was teaching really well. So she would say, like, we'd have to say how many bars was this music in, and she would basically stand at the front and play it, and she'd go 1, 2, 3, 4. So we would say 4, like if it was in 4 bars, because I couldn't get it either. That I remember, she was just cheating the test completely.
You got to think, like, music is such a waste of time for kids at school, isn't it? Like, you can't.
Well, unless you're really gifted.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. What you'll get 1 or 2 people who are like grade 7 at the guitar, and like literally, and then all the attention's on them, and you can't compete with that. What is? No, you're not going to learn. I'm not going to be able to learn the clarinet like for an hour every week.
I did. That's what I did. I did learn the clarinet an hour.
I mean, that's a very miserable instrument. I've often
said,
is
the worst?
You're the Squidward of the land world.
Piano. I wish it was piano.
I would like to learn piano. It's the most.
Wouldn't you love to be able to play Proust or something like that?
Proust. You don't even know who that is.
I don't know who it is, man.
Oh, Proust. Is that? Oh, Proust, sorry, I was just book and take. Martin Amos's new novel.
So I love that. Okay,
I do like, actually. Whilst we're on music, can I just say this?
Yeah,
I like when Karl's not that bothered. I didn't come up with it. That the feature.
Oh yeah.
At the same time, Steve's saying, isn't that right? You haven't written for that enemy, but he says he's very good actually being critical about musical theory there, because he says don't think you can slag any of it off. Like, it's mood, it's times. That's good if you want doing a bit of crib or whatever. And it's just such an honest thing, because it's like you would listen to Bjork in the shower. that may be a
Yeah,
bit
and
of
the other thing I like is his honesty, because I guarantee anyone else in that position would have pretended, not just at that show, but anytime music come up, pretended they like music, even though they don't. Carl doesn't really like music. He never pretends otherwise. If you ask him what it's like, all right, because he knows he's not pretending like, oh, I like the beat and the I like the sort of pacing. Yeah, that's honest of him. But I like that feature. But I'm glad it was only once. I wouldn't have liked it, all the time. But those 3 songs are so in my head,
I know.
Baby. do, 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 do. But I like them in reverse order. Like, so I'd pick the reverse. Skeleton Road for me, even though Ricky kind of slags it off a bit, but that's so catchy.
Yeah.
But that's why, it is something like the Thrills or something obvious. Or who was that band who were big when I went to uni? The one who did the stuff about
Beatles.
Was so she walks in her own way.
Kooks.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but there were loads of bands.
I
was saying when you went to school, there were loads of bands. What is it called? I think we've spoken about this before, but Landfill Indie. Loads of those sort of outfits that were around 202, 203, 4, 5, 6. Like, I grew up with all
it
that
must have been hard for Skeleton Road to kind of make it
just generic.
But to me,
there was a guy who was like in our hometown, who was like touring. Everyone was in bands, weren't they, back then? He was quite successful. He was doing like, Colchester Arts Centre and all that sort of shit. All those, they were quite big back then.
Is that success? Is that what success
back then
smells
it was like? And
well, no, I'm not. I'm only
there was an old urban legend in Ipswich was if the Enter Shikari used to play this place called the Pool Club. The Pool Club was like an absolute dive. But that's where you could go for like Strongbow or whatever, or WKD.
It sounds like where Steve goes to play snooker.
Yeah, it is a bit like
that time.
I mean, this was we literally just sat on pool tables, but yeah, Enter Shikari played that, and everyone's like, "Oh, I was one of the first people to see Enter Shikari." So whatever.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like.
And then I remember one time. Oh God, I always regret this. A bunch of my mates went to see the Klaxons, circa 045, down in Norwich, and this is back when they were first starting, and they all got white hoodies and
white hoods?
white hoodies.
Look, did they burn flaming crosses?
No,
well?
they didn't do that. And with red tape, they wrote Klaxons on the back, and they basically took this picture of all of them on benches from the back, and then the Klaxons used that picture in their MySpace profile picture. And they were just royalty for that day at school. And I stupidly said I couldn't come to that gig because I didn't care or know the band.
But why 0405? You weren't even in sixth form then.
It's 14.
So why were your mates 14? How do your mates get to go to a gig and they're 14?
What are you talking about? You're allowed to do that.
You have your money. Yeah, I know you're allowed, but
no, it's like chaperone, Grandad.
I've heard of the vaccines. I bet I have.
Are they for children? Do they use the Queen's English? Do they swear?
Do they use a refined but harpsichord for the melodies? I went to see Elton John. That's my story.
Not quite. I mean, actually, that's more rock and roll, to be honest.
Guess who his support act was? I have told you before, so you know.
David Furnish?
No, I don't think. It's too much mixing work and pleasure, and they do get pleasure. No, it's Lulu.
Oh Christ Almighty! Lulu. She's an awful
one.
Yeah,
when she did Shout, all the other stuff, and no one knew.
Well, I was going to say, what's the other stuff?
Yeah, I don't know.
My mum proper hates Lulu. She thinks the term she calls her is mutton dressed as lamb. It's quite dismissive, isn't it?
Yeah, she's probably had a lot of work done. I'll give her that. She looked good on stage, but Elton has. Elton, she doesn't like Elton now live, does she? Because his voice has gone a bit. Elton, if you listen to, come on. It's gone. Yeah, he can't do the high notes, so
he sounds like Vic Reeves doing the club sing around in the show.
He does a bit. Yeah, he's making money off his
I am glad incidentally this episode that Steve finally gets to go and see Bowie.
Kind of it comes full circle.
It does make up a bit. A common urban legend, this is on the 7-Up fact.
Oh, Miles has done that. Go on. Yeah.
I have actually.
It's a common urban legend, yeah.
It's a common legend about Charles Laper Grigg, is that he was an albino, and that the red dot on the bottle is supposed to represent his red eyes. In fact, there are no official references to Grigg having been an albino, and in black and white photos, his eyes appear normally pigmented. The 7-Up logo with the red dot came into use in the 1970s after Grigg had died. How about that? Debunked.
I had read somewhere that that was a true fact once because I looked it up,
Wow.
but that could easily have been wrong. I'm not going to hear. I'm not
It's like the
arguing
midget and the hippo, though, isn't it?
albino theory. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
but it's not though. That fact could easily be true. With the albino, putting the red dot, but the hippo, man, like that's going to be made up already. So that's not. I think
Some
I looked
Christian
it up,
show.
but be independently verified.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's basically not. But that albino story is like it's one of the few stories Karl tells that could actually happen. It's a shame that he's wrong about that because he's wrong about everything.
I'm so proud of it.
I thought he got that off a decent source, I think, because I'm sure I've seen that as well.
Yeah, it's just funny what he counts as educational knowledge. He says it in the past episodes, and he's like, I don't read books anymore. I just read snippets of information.
Headlines. Yeah. Well,
snippets of information.
I've got some headlines.
It's not enough, is it?
It's not enough. I just looking at some headlines.
It's all right, you can get
Do you want to hear some headlines?
Yeah, I'd love to. Bong.
Bong. One-armed man applauds the kindness of strangers.
How does he do that?
Exactly. But they're trying to be nice. They're trying to be sweet.
Bong.
Okay, we hate math. Say 4 in 10 Americans, a majority of Americans. That's
not that weird.
No, they're not.
You wouldn't cut it on the XFM show.
Oh no, this is my tryout for the show.
Okay.
No, I had some better ones. Homicide victims rarely talk to police. News.
It's good, isn't it?
Okay.
Are you just reading the BBC News website?
No, this is a true one. Breathing oxygen linked to staying alive. Article.
Surprise, isn't it?
Statistics show that teen pregnancy drops off significantly after age 25. That's from some.
If it's weird, it helps. I think you could. I get what you're doing.
Yeah. China may be using sea to hide its submarines.
Now you're talking.
This one's very American. It's just from America. You don't even need to see the source. Federal agents raid gun shop, find weapons.
Was it
Federal
by
agents raid gun shop, find weapons. The store owner arrested previously. Okay, this is one that's quite like.
I tell you what, you are going to replace Andrew Marr, I think, on Sunday morning.
Here's one. This is my trial. So say it's 50-50 at the moment. You don't know whether to hire me or fire me. Hit parade or shit parade. Okay. Diana was still alive hours before she died. That's the headline. Diana was still alive hours before she died. Okay, I wasn't hired. So what?
You should go and watch Spencer, by the way. The film about Diana. It's really good. I know you won't, but if you did.
Yeah, it's supposed to be good because the other one I loved Commode's review. The other one with what's her name? The Keira Knightley. Was it not Keira Knightley, but it's someone like that as Diana is rubbish.
That was meant to be rubbish.
Yeah. No, I'm saying that's what I love.
Naomi Watts is her name.
Can I just read you this headline? This is funny. I think this was genuine. This went out. This is the headline. Think of a headline, 56-point bold headline. They forgot to actually do it. So they put out what they put in that space.
What do you mean?
Clever. Well, they put out, think of a headline, 56 points. So that's for before they publish.
I see.
They're saying, think of a headline for this bit before you put it out. This is a headline.
I mean, isn't that just terrifying? Because that is literally how those places work, how those tabloids work, isn't it? You've just got to be controversial.
Well, no, but that's not, they're not trying to be, they actually did it as a mistake. This is one for Karl. World Bank says poor need more money.
Are you on Ananova or where are you?
Yeah, no, I've got a lot of, I'm got fingers in a lot of pies, mate. I'm everywhere. Girls' school still offering something special. Head. That's an actual one that went out. I've read this before. Girls still offering something special, and then they put hyphen head, as in the head that just said what you've just heard. But there you go. That's
all right. Thanks so much.
That's why I don't do the planning every week.
Rule of 3. I like all the chat.
You've done ones where you you go into
I'm joking. It's very good. It's very good. It's very good.
It wasn't very good. No, it wasn't very good. It wasn't very good.
I do like all of the chat about the scone and the cup of tea, and something massive that came out your nose.
Yeah.
It's just so funny how the scone becomes an extra character in that story. It's like, so you put the tea down, you put the scone down.
But Ricky's so good at Ricky does it perfectly. He not deconstructs it, but he's kind of the perfect foil in that story. He pitches it just right. Just saying because Karl's laughing as well, which is funny.
Yeah.
It's quite rare. It's Karl laugh.
I just The
Didn't say that.
embellishment.
Didn't say that. That'll be my favourite quotes coming up. But that's one of my favourite little sections. Like he said something like, he said to himself, "Oh, no, I didn't say that," and then he went to the doctor and he said, "I didn't say that." It's just perfect. Like, and even Karl laughs. Like, because it's like Ricky's it's so true. Like that's all you need to say. Like he did not say these words as you're saying them. You're embellishing. Didn't say that. That's all you need. I really like that, and that probably puts this show for me, just that bit alone, above like a poor quality show. Even a poor quality Ricky Gervais show on XFM is good standard compared to other shows, but still poor compared. It's not a poor show, but it's like it's a mid-range show because it's got a couple of really good moments in it.
Well, let's have a break because this show does get better because it actually features my favourite quote of all time. And if you want to see what that is, stay listening.
Wrap this shit up.
Okay, welcome back, everyone.
We're back. Hang on, I was saying.
Go on, you say it, mate. I'm not protective.
Welcome back.
Oh, is that it? Okay.
That's all I wanted to say. That's all I had. I'm only kidding. We're so eager. We're so eager. We said welcome back at the same time. It's funny. You get that sort of stuff live if you come live to our show. Please come.
12th
of December. Yeah. Snap. Okay, so now is the time for our favourite quotes, I believe you were just saying. And
that's exactly what I just said. The end result is always the same, so why complicate it?
Okay, yeah.
It's a manifesto on sex.
I just like this. Yeah. This is on that. It's just the way Ricky says it. Like, I don't like this it's not funny, the subject, but if you're not gay.
Oh God.
Oh, if you're not gay, like just it's not fun. Like no, nothing. Like I'm solidarity with the.
We didn't actually.
That's funny.
We didn't talk about that guy, Nicholas.
Oh, calling about your plugs.
Calling about your plugs. If you got any gay friends, if you want
what is it with South African? What is it with them in South African? I've never made this link in my head, but one of the other famous people that calls in is, I'll give it a look.
She's on New Zealand, isn't she?
Give it a look. Oh, it might be, yeah.
I don't know. Go and see some middle-aged men run around in bands.
You said that, yeah.
I just think it's so funny.
I'm bloody glad he did, Steve.
Oh, God, yeah.
It's the way he slows down at the end of the...
Bloody glad. God, that is a weird music selection, that is. God Gave Rock and Roll to You by Kiss. Kiss!
So, yeah, I only know that song by the beginning and the end because they're coming out.
I don't know costumes and stuff and their makeup.
They wear makeup, but leave them alone.
Yeah. I thought you meant she has one stuck up her fanny. I hate that word. My apologies for saying that word.
I can't believe you put that. No,
I know, but honestly, it's the Steve's laugh after he goes, sorry, Rick.
No, I actually think it's funnier without that. Like, because it was funnier before that little anecdote. But there's nuts Obama's cakes. No me, no boys. Get out, you twiddle flunt. Let's go for Ricky to come out with that. Like, all right, some of it's like normal. It's kind of phrases that are known, but you twiddle flunt to kind of come up with that. It's not. It doesn't mean anything.
Something came out your nose. That was massive.
That was massive.
And then it's just the silences and the pauses and that. Like, so great.
Yeah. Well, this one's about the silences just after it. It's just, it was bottom. Just the way he says that when he says it. It was bottom.
Whoever gave him the necks.
Yeah, that's good. With a marrow and that.
Marrow.
It's like Karl's knows he's a bit annoyed. Like he gets quieter for that clip. Like he kind of gets.
But he knows that he's trying to be funny as well there because he could have eased us up with a marrow.
Yeah, he knows.
Marrow. More education stuff. Good tunes and that.
Yeah. No. Okay, I don't know if I can do this one, but I'll try. It's really hard to do.
Yeah.
Karl! What, during bottom? I can't get it's really I tried earlier, but it's so hard. Karl! What, during bottom? But it's so it's a laugh, but it's
so sharp.
So hard to get.
Do you know, actually, because that's something I don't like about Rick. Rick's voice in the podcasts and his laugh changes. It becomes so much higher. Yeah. And I don't know, you can document the history of the podcast and it's the FM shows by how his voice changes. Obviously, every voices get deeper as you get older.
They do
generally,
yeah.
like. But yeah, he's got a gruff kind of guy now, isn't he? I'd say.
Yeah, but I mean, I've never noticed that, but I'll go back and look. Maybe we can do that when we cover the podcast in about 2 years' time.
When there was someone posted a while ago, so I'll put a link in the description. It's extras. Well, it's the extras from extras, and it's called Finding Leo.
Oh yeah,
that's
just really pulled out,
and
really.
She's got to find international heartthrob.
They are perfect. They've just had that perfect amount of wine, and they don't hide it.
I just had some wine.
Yeah, but imagine back then they were famous enough to kind of know people who would know people who know, but they weren't at that level like Ricky wasn't. And so, how do you get hold of Leo? You have to still go for his agent. You can't. No, it's funny they filmed that. I love that.
The bit where he goes to Algier and spoke to him. Hi, mate, how you doing? We used to do the cock show.
Yeah, it's good. Right. Yeah. So, what your next quote?
Oh, sorry. I'm looking at the woman's knob.
Yeah. It's a bloke, Karl.
He won't be happy with that.
She won't be happy with that. This I love because this is Karl's like way of thinking in a different way, and Ricky comments on it soon after. But well, what else can it do? Karl's answering that question in a very literal. No one would ask, well, why does it go up there? They're obviously saying, well, what in nature? What part of what caused it to go up in nature? But it's like you're saying, well, what does it do when it's up there? What does that actual one do? Or what was he saying? Yeah. What else would that's true. What else can it do? It can only sit there. But you're more saying, well, what's this thing? What nature causes this?
I know you're going to have this, but you were hot, baby. Loved your hair, love all your boobs and all that.
Love your boobs. I haven't actually put that down, but I do like that. Didn't say that. I'll just put them together because they're just, even though Karl speaks in between, but it's so good. Didn't say that. It's just so good because he's used the exact same phrase just after.
I don't even believe he had a scone and a cup of tea. This one, well, I'm not that bothered. His opinion on music.
Yeah.
I just think.
Yeah, that's just very honest. As I said, I think that's honest. It's a good job that I send out the prizes.
Yeah,
which I like, which we talked about earlier. But
very sharp.
Ironically, there was people out there without prizes to this day.
Exactly.
Or whatever.
And my last one, and the saving grace for me that propels this from being a sort of lesser favourite to this.
I know
is probably my favourite.
I know. Can I guess? Is the first word wood?
No, it's another one.
Wood.
It's kind of linked to that, but he's from Baba.
Oh yeah. Well,
It's just.
I've known that.
Honestly, every time I think someone asked, like, do you remember where you were when you first heard that? I do actually remember where I was, and I remember how funny I found that. It was just so spontaneous. It rolled off his tongue so quick, and I was like, oh my god, that is the funniest thing ever.
Honestly, it's weird. I think you're more in the majority opinion there, but I don't. I have no interest in that. It's not terrible. I don't think it's offensive.
Yeah.
I just don't find it's just not funny.
He's from Baba.
What I thought you were going to say is, so would he have worn a jumper for pants? The last line that they signed off.
See, I'm not a fan of that one.
We're different people. But in a partnership where everyone agrees one person is unnecessary. So where both people agree.
Well, we were actually brought together by Simon Cowell as a couple of podcasting duos. So you two should work well together. Anyway, those were our favourite quotes. What are yours? Email us in spinnerspodcast@gmail.com or on Twitter. That's Spinners Podcast, no definitive article.
Can I give a little honourable mention to?
Go on.
Would you need to use that tool?
When would you need to use? Oh no. Moving swiftly on, it is time for our regular feature, XFM the Community. That's where we ask you to send us your feedback, opinions, stories, etc. And we've had a good number of correspondents that have got in touch with us.
We had one that said, because I saw it actually, and I looked, it was there, and then as I updated, it was in the deleted, and I couldn't see what it was, so I went to deleted, and it says, hey, the Trout Spinners podcast. Did you see our last email? We're hosting a free seminar with David Natham on the 8th of December, 2021. Click here to get your free tickets now. David Natham is an industry veteran who has worked in development. So we
should have kept that for a slow week.
We've got this. Welcome, Prime member. You've got to your Norton Total Protection. It's just got this bullshit.
Yeah. Suspected spam.
I valuable, man. Like you're really, yeah. Anyway, so we've got some real ones, as you're going to say. So I'm excited to hear these. I did read one of them, but
great.
that's more than I usual.
You read all the spam,
no, but
because
I want to save that. Yeah, that's really bad. No, but I save it so that this could be my first opportunity to hear it. First
absolutely, it's a good excuse. You asked after when we gave our thoughts on the XFM blackout and Ricky's opinions. Daisy got in touch, who is a regular listener and Patreon member. So if you're interested in extra shows and new content, do head over to Patreon. Just $5 a month. It's all right.
$5, yeah. One. If you're one guy, just one guy did one. That's his vibe. You know?
All right.
You can't.
Nothing against it. Nothing. Daisy says, just finished this week's episode. What a change to actually have some current XFM news. I think it was Ricky, not that he personally found them and asked them down for a member of his team. So when he replied on Twitter saying it wasn't him, probably was being honest, but I bet if he bothered to investigate it, it would be someone acting on his behalf in his team. I know they are up again, but let's pretend they are not, and you didn't have them. If he said he would put them out again, but in order to access each episode of the XFM shows you listened to, you had to listen to an episode of his new shit podcast, would you do it? So two parts there.
Every time?
Every time
you can't answer a bit. Every time you listen to one, you've got to listen to a new one first. It's with Cyrus XFM or whatever.
The science one. No, the absolutely mental.
Cyrus is. I think Cyrus different. Is the platform. Oh, has it got two? Yeah. I wouldn't want. Yeah, I probably would, but not every time. As long as I could just do it once and then have it downloaded. But that's like 90 shows. You know. No, Daisy, I agree with your theory. Actually, it's very good. That's what I was going to say. Seriously, even though you said it, but I'm not copying you. Not copying, sir. But I believe it's someone on his behalf, on his team, but not acting at all on his instruction. And because they saw that he was active on Twitter at that time, thought to try and protect him, to take the shows down and serve them notices that they've got to take it down. I think he genuinely, but if he'd investigated like he should, he would have found out it was down to him or his representatives. But I believe him when he says on Twitter it wasn't him. I just don't think he'd lie. I just don't think he'd lie like that.
I think if you are part of Ricky's exhaustive legal team, then they would have visibility over the whole of his career. Therefore, they would be fully aware of the XFM shows. You only need to listen to one, and there'd probably be enough dodgy stuff in there for them to get a bit nervous and tetchy, in which case they would probably prioritise getting it down. Therefore, Ricky can save face and be, act on everyone's behalf, and the legal team can be the bad guys and takes everything down, but no one's going to question it because these sort of things just happen, don't they?
The test will be whether they go back up again.
Well, someone has put them back up again. One person.
I agree, but he says, he wouldn't lie.
Steve Weller, who is also
thank you for your email, Daisy.
This one's from Steve Weller, another.
Hello, Steve.
Regular and Patreon member. Not a Patreon today. Hi, Miles and Gary. Loved the latest episodes. The special with Daniel was brilliant. I especially identify him having all the RSK shows on a USB stick that he treasured. Mm. I keep several copies of the whole lot on various USBs, my laptop, phone, and tablet. I never want to be without them. It's just like it shows when you've got backups of backups of backups.
Yeah. I think you've overdone it, if anything, Steve.
I haven't listened to all of them for a while, but I always go back to them and do a re-listen every time you cover a show. It's very interesting hearing all the theories about the shows being pulled off Spotify. If I'm not mistaken, I'm sure this has happened before. I don't like to think that Ricky is behind it, but I guess it's possible. More likely it's someone who works for him that has had them removed, or it could be for copyright or DRM issues maybe. But you can still find them on YouTube or various torrents and download sites, and we did put out a bunch of places where you can download the shows in the previous episode within the show notes. So do check those places out if you're still having trouble to access the shows, and download them, put them on about 12 USB sticks in a vault, create a very secure password for the vault, and dig it 12 feet underground, and then you're safe for the future.
And then you could never listen to them again because you can't retrieve it either. So no one will listen to them. No, just down. Yeah, I'll do it. Everyone's going mental. Like they went off Twitter, but so they went off Spotify, but they're still on YouTube to this day. They've been. That's how I got them originally, from that man moth. It's about 9 years ago. Posted 10 years, and I got about 9 years ago.
God bless the man moth. Thank you, Steve.
Thanks for your email. Yeah, I agree with your theory as well. It's similar to Daisy's. I think it was his people that did it. not his. Because there was a similar thing in a chess world that happened. So someone was acting on his behalf. He didn't realise he got into a load of shit, but it was someone he didn't know, but it's representative. Then he fired up, and I think it's like that. But Ricky will put it this way: if it was, he will know by now. So he should put up there. Oh, sorry, it was people acting on my behalf. But I'm allowing them to go up there.
And the offer's still there, Ricky. If you want to clear the record straight, come on
we tweeted him, yeah. He said,
come on the show.
Please retweet this. So I've got about 4 retweets. So please come on.
And this last one from a new listener, Liam Fitzpatrick. Hello, Miles and Gary. I heard about your podcast through an RSK group on Facebook, but thought the idea of a podcast that reviews a radio show wouldn't work. So starting positive.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I recently started listening by picking the odd episode based on the title or episodes that I really liked, i.e. the burger stuffing record attempt, and really like the in-depth analysis of Ricky, Steve and Karl. As I've listened to more episodes, I find you talking about things that I have thought about before, like Ricky always covering his back when saying offensive things, and out of all of them, Steve is probably the most offensive. When I first met my wife, the word wife, she despised Ricky, which is understandable as he is intolerable nowadays. But as she has heard more of the XFM show, she doesn't mind Ricky, but now hates Steve. You may have spoken about this already, but I think it's quite fascinating how Steve went from being very outspoken in the early days of XFM to being the quiet middleman in the podcast and guys. This is just one of the reasons which makes your podcast great, and you could write whole essays delving deep into the shows as a whole. I'm driving down to Liverpool from Glasgow to see my family before Christmas this week, and will be listening to your podcast from start on the long drive. I'm looking forward to you reviewing Series 1 of XFM, as I feel it's the most authentic, and Ricky is as far away from the person he has now become. One of my favourite quotes is from Ricky looking through the Guinness Book of Records. He has to coconut. He's fast coconut in the world, Steve. Keep up the good work, lads. Thank you, Liam, for that really amazing email. It's great to read. Lots of stuff in there. I'm sure Gary's going to deconstruct right now.
Oh, yeah, I disagree with all of it. But I won't say why at this juncture. No, it's good. Thank you, Liam. Oh, it's good to know. Yeah, I kind of, I don't know. Did Steve get more quiet?
When you're young, you worry less about there being a filter. And in Series 0, he's very loud and very offensive, and but it's I still find him funny that all the time.
Yeah,
I do get the fact that he does become more of a softy kind of middleman by the time the podcasts come around.
Things.
Yeah, I think Karl talks so. Well, they just work out what works by the podcast, and it's mostly Karl talking. Like Ricky and Steve, have a bit more of a part to play when in the XFM shows. I think.
Yeah, I don't think Steve loses his confidence or anything, or Steve doesn't change. Like he's still on Series 0. I guarantee he's still as much of a piece of work if you see him like that as he ever became. But now, he would never say those views. But
I think Steve's actually developed the most out of everyone, to be honest. No more so is this. Yeah, definitely. He is really matured. Like I watched the rest of the Outlaws, and whilst I think it's so much better. No, I won't. But like all of the themes that he brings up, like race relations, Black Lives Matter, COVID, the impact that has done. He makes it very topical, and he engages with this subject matter so maturely and treats it serious with the seriousness of which it deserves. And you realise how much he's really developed his writing style. When you think about his opinions that he had about, homeless people or, those sort of crazy, which I will forgive him for Christ's sake, the ignorance of youth.
Because Miles is saying that because Miles has those opinions as well.
But about Rick Waller, he was offensive about Rick Waller, but I feel like he wouldn't say those things now. You could call it age or whatever, but I think he's very, very self-aware as a person. But I don't know if I hate him. I'm not with your wife. I don't hate him.
I wonder, what does your wife think of him nowadays with everything on, like, not how he became on the podcast, because that was still like 15 years ago when the podcast ended almost. So I wonder what she thinks of him today. He seems quite like a nice guy, but some of the things he said, it doesn't kind of compute with that, how he was. I don't think he lost.
But I think it's always going to be a hard thing though. Like if you're listening to them for the first time in 2021, 2021. As we've said before, you know, you've got to take everything with a pinch of salt. And, you know, we've been listening to them for 10 plus years. So it's hard for me to be offended by kind of anything now.
But I can read out stuff and say I'm kind of laughing at that, but I'm also clearly. No, you can hold those two thoughts in your head. I think that's
exactly.
Useful.
But I love that you and your wife have a relationship with XFM now as well, and it plays a part in your marriage.
Yeah, and very funny to say just you mentioned wife and then put in brackets the word wife. Just left it that. Very good email. Thank you.
He's probably listening to this from Liverpool down from Glasgow. So how many miles is that?
Have a nice time at Auntie Nora's or whoever it is you're going to. How many miles is it? I'd say about, I'm doing a thing like of a bloke who'd train. It's about 250 miles.
About that.
You know
but I think maybe turn the car around and come down to London to the Cock Tavern on the 12th of December between 1:30 and 3. Bring the family.
Yeah, well, he wouldn't turn it round, would he? He'd keep going in the same direction. Just don't stop when you get to your family. Keep going, and you'll come down to the Cock Tavern eventually.
Eventually,
come along, Liv. But thank you for your email. It's good.
Drinks will be on me.
Interesting theories. We'll talk more about them as the weeks go by.
Absolutely. Now we always like to wrap things up on a Trout Spinners library where Gary and I select a song to put into our Spinners podcast library, which is available to listen in the show notes. Do you have a song that you'd like to put in?
No. Editors. No, Munich.
You want to put that in? Why?
Yeah.
Why do you want to put that in?
Listen to it the other day.
That's the only reason.
Yeah, I didn't even like it. Too loud. But I just,
he's putting in a song he doesn't like. It's all right, don't worry. You can put that in. Bit disappointed, if I'm honest.
So I didn't know I needed your approval now.
They play Outcast on this episode, and I'm not going to put in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, but that's not actually the best. There's 3 good songs from Outcast.
Okay.
Jordan, Key and Peele actually do a very funny sketch about Outcast because you know the main guy, he's got a crazy name. And he walks in like some sort of mad, like Russell Brand, Willy Wonka style character. He's really eccentric. Andre 3000, that's his name. But they take the piss out of him. It's like, why don't we pour something? Anyway, it's really very funny. I'm going to put in Sorry, Miss Jackson. Whoa, I am for real.
I remember that song when I was
Me too.
The end of school, so as old as you can get. Probably.
It was that song and the Baha Men Who Let the Dogs Out came out on tape, and I bought them both.
On tape, yeah.
I know.
Do you know, I bought a tape of Candle in the Wind, 1997, Diana version. But literally everyone did in the whole country. Went to like the highest selling single of all time in every country.
But Miss Jackson is a great song, and
it's a good song.
Probably the best song.
His place in our library.
Absolutely, unlike the Editors.
Unlike the Editors, I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
Be bothered to look for one, mate.
Anyway, I'm going to wrap things up because I'm bored of talking to you, mate.
Great one.
How did you feel the show went? What are you doing for the rest of the day? What are you doing for the rest of your weekend? Tell me.
Sorry, what do you want me to answer? Which one? All of them?
Bring them all together in one.
I feel the show went well. I'll be going to have a drink now, and for the rest of the weekend, I'll be up at 3 a.m. or tweeting. No one will.
Why? Well, who are you going for a drink with, and where are you going?
What's the one near me?
Oh, Hobgoblin.
Hobgoblin.
Oh, that's a good pub. I'm a bit jealous, actually.
You know him, someone who was in one of our Miles and I did a little video.
Yeah, you can get that on Patreon.
Video. Okay. Yeah. You can't. Oh yeah, did we put that on Patreon?
Yeah.
Oh, way to turn
reason, isn't it?
Yes. That is not worth it. I say if you're thinking about going on Patreon for that, don't bother. Don't save your money.
Psychology.
Yeah. So I'm pretending. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. But yeah, what about you? You said you were going to go to the pub, or you had an offer, but you didn't want to go to the pub. So
I've got an offer to go to the pub at 7:30. But I've got to sort of
in the toilet.
Keep busy until I'm probably going to have some jerk chicken, mate.
His girlfriend's got a job, so she's not there to entertain him.
So I'm a bit lonely at the moment, but I'm sure I'll find something to do. Anyway, until next time.
Why'd you say jerk chicken? Why'd you say ABBA? But why? Why you said it like you're trying to be like undoing
International.
the racism of the XFM show that we just reviewed.
I'm calling about your jerk chicken.
Calling about your.
Oh, what is Nicholas doing now?
Oh, I wonder.
That's a mystery for another day.
We'll have him on. We'll interview him instead of Claire.
If he knows details.
Claire won't come on.
Anyway, thanks for listening, everyone, and we will speak to you soon, I'm sure. Anything?
Yes. Goodbye and God bless. See you later.